Okay, so the Eagles started making their move early by releasing cornerback Darius Slay. However, what's coming next, and why are some suggesting Slay might return to Philly after all? Let's take a look at those odds, along with how this could affect a couple other pending decisions. But which opportunities is Howie Roseman considering, and did the Birds just tip their hand? Let's talk about it, but first, let's run it. What's up, guys? So the dominoes are already starting to fall, but before we get there, I have a very quick announcement. Because in the same spirit of the pending free agency chaos, it seems the fake scammers and posers are running rampant now. And let me just say thank you to those of you who have alerted me and given me a heads up about messages saying they've won a giveaway being fraudulent. By the way, just confirmation, I've seen them all and have reported them all to YouTube. Of course, if you look closely, all those phonies have some sort of weird letter or number next to their name. Whereas since I'm now verified with YouTube, you'll see a check mark next to my name, so it hopefully shouldn't be too difficult to differentiate anymore. Even though, yes, they do have my same picture since they copied it. Also, I've said this before, but I'm never going to ask you to pay for anything. I don't ask for sensitive information, so please do not give that out there. And, stay vigilant, remain alert, don't fall for their scams.
I got robbed by a sweet old lady on a motorized cart. I didn't even see it coming.
Don't be that person, you're better than that. Now, in that light, one thing I didn't quite see coming was the Deebo Samuel trade to the Washington Commanders. After it was announced over the weekend that the Commies gave up a 5th-round pick for the 49ers' 2021 stud receiver. Yes, I did say 2021 because it's been that long since he's had a significant or really a great season, but again, can you imagine giving up that much compensation for a receiver that has not contributed in multiple seasons? Wait. How much did we give up for Jahan Dotson again? Yeah, so a 3rd-round pick and 2 7ths for Dotson and Washington's 5th.
Oh, okay.
Look, at least it's not Dallas who gave up a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo and basically don't have anything to show for it. Honestly, for some reason, that was the knee-jerk reaction to the Deebo Samuel trade, but when you break it down, it's not that great for Washington. Because here you have them agreeing to essentially picking up almost $22 million of Deebo's contract this year, which, by the way, comes in at a cap hit of $15 million. And to make you feel better, that's the same cap hit as Saquon Barkley, Landon Dickerson, and Jahan Dotson combined this upcoming season. Oh yeah, plus Philly's still got a draft pick back for the Dotson trade. Of course, I get it. Deebo might be able to turn back the clock and find something a little bit different dynamic in an offense with Jaden Daniels. However, for anyone arguing that point based on what Zach Ertz was able to do, it's understandable, except coming from a Kyle Shanahan offense, I don't necessarily think the scheme was the problem. It's really just the fact that Deebo hasn't been a game breaker in a while, or definitely not one that you can consistently rely on. Granted, Washington has a ridiculous amount of cap space, so they can afford to take risks like this. But please, let's not go overboard on them getting another pass catcher like this all of a sudden puts them way over the top. Anyway, having said that, I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. How are you feeling about the Commies? And yes, also, how are you feeling about the Eagles releasing Darius Slay? With a key part of that being Slay designated with a post-June 1 date, meaning Philly will save about $4.3 million in cap space this season. In case you're wondering where that puts their total cap space this season, it's somewhere around like 26 to 27 million, but believe me, we're just getting started, but I'm going to get into that in just a second. Now, obviously, if this is goodbye to Slay, then he definitely deserves a big thank you. Because say what you will about Slay, and yes, I have certainly been very critical of him, but he played some fantastic ball down the stretch, while also providing the mentorship for the new corners and guys in the secondary to help get them to the next level and play this past season. However, there's a realistic chance that this isn't goodbye for the corner, with John Clark reporting that there's a realistic possibility for the Eagles to work a team-friendly contract and get the vet to come back for one final ride. After all, the Birds were very much ready to move on from Slay in 2023. In case you don't recall, the Baltimore Ravens had actually offered quite a bit more money, and Slay admitted to wanting to chase the bag. That is until he got a call from Big Dom saying, "Slay, we need you, and we're going to make it right."
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
I almost was for sure a Baltimore Raven, though. I really committed to the Ravens and was finna go. Then Dom called me and said, "Slay, I want you here, da-da-da." And I'm like, you know what, Dom? If you calling me, Dom, I'm coming back.
That story always makes me laugh because I think it's just a reminder about how much power Big Dom has and really just clout in Philly overall. But look, nothing's impossible, although this situation feels drastically different than in 2023 for a number of reasons. For one, when Dom called Slay saying we need you 2 years ago, they absolutely needed him. Heck, we didn't have many options at all for the cornerback spots. Whereas now, the Eagles have Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Kelee Ringo, and might even bring back Isaiah Rodgers. Plus, with the Detroit Lions, Pittsburgh Steelers, or possibly, again, the Baltimore Ravens being interested in Slay, I'd venture to guess one of those spots is where he ends up instead of Philly. By the way, for those in disbelief as to why or in what world does it make sense to cut Darius Slay or release Darius Slay before James Bradberry, it's actually a very respectful move from Howie Roseman. So hear me out. By letting Slay go now, this lets teams prepare for the next week on if they want to look at bringing in Slay. Meaning the 34-year-old is about to get his pick of the litter and should be able to maximize his worth instead of if the Birds had waited until after free agency started. But whether you believe it or not, even saying that, according to Derek Gunn, the Eagles do want Slay to play his final season in Philly. It's just that his asking price is a little too steep right now, but they wouldn't rule it out. By the way, do me a favor and drop a like on this video, and then after hitting the like button, drop one of your takeaways from the recent Slay news in the comments section. Because reminder, I'm going to be giving away a signed Nolan Smith helmet to one lucky subscriber on my next live stream, and I'll give away an additional entry for a comment on this video. Now, as for JB, I still wouldn't be shocked if we get a notification very soon saying that they're going to release him, since in a similar scenario of a post-June 1 designation, the Eagles would save $2 million in cap space. I mean, maybe Howie sees value in keeping JB around as a veteran presence in the secondary, but I honestly couldn't envision seeing that move. However, the moves that are becoming clear, especially with the latest update, is what the Birds are trying to get done before free agency starts. I know I'm a broken record, but again, just a reminder, March 10th, legal tampering starts, and then March 12th, free agency starts. You can start officially getting those deals signed. Anyway, the most up-to-date rumors and reports from Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano maintain Howie's interest in getting the Zack Baun deal done. Although when it comes to price, Zach Berman believes it's actually the Matt Milano deal of $14.1 million per year that's the baseline for negotiations, with his realistic scenario suggesting Howie Roseman will end up offering 3 years for $48 million at $16 million per year. Like, look, this is the ongoing discussion, but seriously, I'm with everyone who's saying we won the Super Bowl with that dude, so pay that man his money. And again, is anyone really going to balk at $16 million per year for Baun? Now, the next move to keep an eye out for is Cam Jurgens' contract extension. Since you know how he loves to lock up core starters quickly, and by getting a deal done, that would save some additional cap space this season. Personally, I feel like something around 4 years at $15 million per year is a good starting point, but either way, you gotta lock up beef jerky. And then next, I absolutely love this idea from Berman to sign Isaiah Rodgers to compete with Kelee Ringo at the cornerback spot. First off, who doesn't want Zay to stay in Philly? Because shout out to Anthony DeBona, but in 276 coverage snaps this season, Zay allowed just 18 catches on 36 targets for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. While, also registering 6 pass breakups and helping to cause at least 1 interception. And come on, yes, I'm probably a little bit biased, but 27 years old, one of the fastest dudes in the game, you absolutely should get this deal done. The question, as it always is how much are we talking about for a contract? With PHLY throwing out Isaiah Oliver for a comparison. And FYI, he got a 1-year deal worth $2.5 million last free agency. Which on one hand is fair, but look, if that's the price to get Isaiah Rodgers to return to Philly, then you immediately get that thing signed. Like, think about it. If you bring back Zay, then you'd have one of the youngest secondaries locked up and locked down, with some of the best internal competition between Rodgers and Ringo to decide on who starts with Q and Coop. Plus, again, just saving that money allows for the Baun signing and then, maybe one other player. However, it doesn't sound like either of those would be for Milton Williams or Josh Sweat, as multiple media members have confirmed they're hearing it's unlikely the return to Philly. And in case you were curious, it's actually the Carolina Panthers who have been gaining the most traction on signing Milton Williams at this point. Of course, no matter where they go, the bigger element to this is the compensatory picks that they'll bring, with Sweat and Milton projected to be somewhere around a 3rd and 4th round pick for 2026. Granted, it'll take a little bit to determine the exact value and where those compensatory picks fall, but still, if you know going into 2026 you're going to have multiple selections, then it kind of helps to, potentially go after another player, make a trade, some other compensation that you're willing to give up next season, because again, you're going to kind of recoup that with Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. Still, it's a bunch of hypotheticals, and obviously this is the time of year where speculation and rumors run wild, but there is at least one thing we can guarantee ourselves of.
One thing that I can promise our fans is that there will not be a player that's available that we won't study, that we won't look at and see if it can help the team. Sometimes those opportunities work, and you're able to do that, and sometimes they don't.
Okay, I'm not even going to get into the Myles Garrett thing at this point because we basically talked about a million different scenarios already. Although when it comes to tight ends, that's a different story, with Raiders reporter Vincent Bonsignor sharing that multiple sources are saying that Las Vegas is trying to trade Michael Mayer. And seeing as though multiple teams are interested, then you can guarantee Howie Roseman is gauging the price. Heck, Mayer is a guy that Anthony DeBona brought up a couple days ago, seeing that he'll just be 24 years old in July and is still on a rookie contract, as the former second-round pick caught 21 passes in 11 games for 156 yards last season. I know that's not good at all. But it's also a fair point knowing that Howie loves to take chances on players that have underwhelmed with their potential early on. Plus, seeing as though the Raiders clearly have a need for pass rushers, and it's not like they're hurting for a tight end one with Brock Bowers, perhaps a discount on the 6'4", 265-pound tight end is worth a look. And I'll just go ahead and throw this out there, but if there's any way to possibly entice them in Bryce Huff, then absolutely. Let's make the trade. Bryce Huff, Michael Mayer, a draft pick, something there. Either way, Michael Mayer is a significant upgrade when it comes to blocking in terms of Grant Calcaterra. And with the Eagles seemingly tipping their hand by a couple tight end visits at the Combine, namely Gunnar Helm from Texas, it does appear they're in the market for a dude who can help in the run game. Also, I'm not going to get into Helm too much because I talked about him on the last video, yet for people saying the dude is just ridiculously slow based on his Combine run, it turns out that Helm sprained his ankle on his first 40 time. That's the reason he ran a 4.94 and then tried to gut it out and at least ran a little bit better at a 4.8. Plus, look, we know that the offense's biggest strength, or at least number one strength, is the running game, so, I mean, come on, if you have any opportunity at all, whether it's through the draft, whether it's through trade to upgrade in the running game and give Saquon more holes, I'm absolutely for it. How about you guys, though? Do you like the trade potential, or would you say hang on to the draft capital? Of course, speaking about the draft, the Eagles could possibly be tipping their hand after showing some continued interest in some offensive linemen who are projected to go somewhere around 96, which is, whenever the Birds select in the third round, since they met with William and Mary's Charles Grant at the Combine, who ironically enough attended the Offensive Line Mastermind Summit last summer, which was launched by Lane Johnson. So not only did Lane get a better look at him, but who knows, might have been able to help put him on Jeff Stoutland's radar. However, it's actually North Carolina State's tackle Anthony Becton who's getting the most interest, with a 6'5", 345-pound blocker being the first official top 30 visit reported for Philly. Remember, teams are only allowed 30 private visits with guys, and especially in the case of Philly, it's very significant whenever they bring somebody in, as that's typically been a very good sign of who Howie Roseman ends up drafting. And considering that Becton earned the nickname Escalade in college based on his size and ability to change directions, I'd say he's probably worth a further look. Now, in case you're not as familiar with this dude, he's got an impressive ability to win in pass blocking, with many believing he'll eventually move over to right tackle, even though he technically played just about all left tackle at NC State. I mean, look, either way, at some point, we're going to draft Lane's replacement. But who knows if that's this season or later on down the line. Yet when it comes to the physical tools, I'd say Becton has them. Of course, nobody's perfect, and if you're wondering why he's a third-round grade instead of, first-round prospect, anything like that, it's mainly from what I've seen having to do with the footwork, kind of getting overstepped at time in pass rushing opportunities, not able to hold up maybe consistently against the game's top pass rushers. But still, when you think about Jeff Stoutland, I mean, come on, when has that ever scared someone off from a prospect saying they need a little bit of refinement? Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on this, the latest moves for the Eagles, and what's the next domino to fall, or which one you expect to fall for Philly. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one. This has been the Philly Special.